Hey everyone, it's Rob, Mr. Robot Shop. Today I wanted to kind of go over buying and selling video games, uh, or computers, or I guess anything for that matter. Um, let's talk about buying stuff first, okay? So, when I buy something, or when you buy something, I'm a retailer. Turn this down a little bit here. Uh, so when I'm buying, I guess buying and selling really go hand in hand. So, uh, when I buy something, so for example, I'm just going to be upfront and tell you what I do. Somebody walks in the door with a box of stuff or bags of things. Um, right away, I'm going to have to kind of lowball what's coming in the door, okay? And the reason being is, I have lights I have to keep on, I have utilities. Uh, Taxes, and I have to pay myself, right? Just like when you go to a job, you have to, the company that you work for pays you money for the labor that you do. Okay, so retail is really no different from any other job, right? You're there based on your time, just like if you were to sit at a desk and type papers all day, or go out and work on the roads all day. Your labor's worth time, okay? So when you go to sell something, or when I'm buying on the buying end, you have to remember that the person that's buying this stuff probably is going to resell it, right? Unless they want to keep it, and then at that point, then they're probably willing to pay more for it, right? If they're a collector. But just know that if you trade your car in, or you bring a computer in, or some games, you're not going to get full retail value of what you think it's even worth, right? Because number one, like laptops, for example, I've got some wholesale places I can get laptops for. I'll tell you what, I can get like a Core 2 Dual HP EliteBook, right? Nice quality business class computer. I can get those in the neighborhood of $80 shipped to me, right? And I'm going to turn around and I will take the hard drive out and put a solid state in, so I'm going to upgrade it, right? But then I'm going to have a couple hours of labor putting the operating system on it. So I'm going to turn around and sell it for about $300. And so you may be like, well, wow, that's a huge profit, Well, you got to look at the price of the computer. You have to look at shipping. You have to look at the solid state hard drive, and then my time to load the operating system in, right? And then I have to warranty the thing. So if the computer dies after you buy it, well, I'm not going to leave you high and dry. I'm gonna take care of it, right? I give you a 6-month warranty. So just know that like car dealerships, and I'm not sticking up for car dealerships. They're notoriously known for being bad. But if they take in a car, yeah, they're going to make some money on it, but a lot of times they have to put a lot of money into the car to actually make it drivable, right? They have to detail it, and they have to put some money in, sometimes new tires. Now, granted, they're going to do that as cheap as they can, right? Because they do want to make a profit. But when all is said and done, everybody's in business to make money, to make a living, right? So, sometimes it's easier just to get out from underneath something, right? Like a car, for example. If you don't like your car, do you really want to stick it to an end user, or would you just say, hey, dealership, take this, I just want to be done with it, right? Give me as much as you can. Same thing with a laptop. If you have data on a laptop, I'm going to wipe it out. I'm going to take care of the things you're not going to want to mess with. If you were to try to sell it on eBay, well, you'd have to reload the operating system yourself, or if you send it to somebody that buys it on eBay, and they're criminals, right? They could take and find your credit card information and your usernames, passwords, and they could do some damage. So, when you sell something to a retailer or a business, expect not to get very much. Okay, it is what it is. And I will say this, like when I get a bunch of video games in, again, big box of stuff comes in. Well, I will usually go through them and I will usually itemize everything, right? And I know there's the thing is, 90% of what people bring in is really just a bunch of junk anyways, right? I mean, multiple cartridges of games that people don't really want, multiple controllers that are broken, the cat or dogs chewed on the cords. So the thing is, when I go through boxes, I'd say 10 to 20% of the stuff in the boxes it's going to go in the trash anyways. Now sometimes some people will bring in some decent games. I pay a third to a half of what they would average go for on eBay or Amazon. So I'll look them up, and let's say it's a $50 game. Well, I'll probably, let's say 60, because a third of 60 be 20, right? So 20 to $25 is what I'll give for that game. You might think, well, geez, that's not much money, right? But think about this for a minute. If you're going to list it on eBay and it's a $60 game, right? So $60 between your eBay, I'm got a calculator over here. Your eBay and your PayPal fees, you got about 20% that's going to come off the top. You're never going to see that. So 60% times 20% is $12, right? So 60 minus 12 is 48, okay? And then you're going to have to pay to ship it. Priority mail is usually what most people are going to want you to do, so that's going to be about $6. eBay actually charges fees on your shipping fees now, which is ridiculous. But anyways, let's just say $6 minus 6. Okay, so you're going to net out $42, right? But you also have to take your time to come up with a description, take pictures, right? You have to drive it to the post office if you're going to have them put a label. Sometimes your carrier will pick it up. But let's just say you've got some time into it, right? So let's say that you spend 20 minutes typing something up, copying it, taking pictures, right? Well, okay, 20 minutes, let's just give that a $5 value, right? Because you're going to have to answer questions sometimes, so we're talking minus $5 just for your time to box it up. You got to get boxes, you got to ship it, packing material, usually your boxes are free. But anyway, so we're at $37, right? And what did I say I'm going to pay? About, on the high end, $25. So you're going to make $12 more, right, on that $60 game. Okay, go ahead. Now, I will say this. If the buyer doesn't like the game, guess what's going to happen? They're going to open up a return case, and you're going to have to eat the shipping. So you're going to have to pay another $6, right? So now you get the game back. And again, buyers are getting really picky, right? So if you describe it incorrectly or put the wrong condition, right, you're going to eat that game. You're going to eat the shipping, right? So you have $6 going out and then $6 coming back. So right now, if you have to return that game, you're out $12 whole. You're never going to see that money ever again, okay? So if you go to relist it, right, you're already down $12, right? And then you got to reship it again. So just remember that, doing stuff on eBay and Amazon, you got the fees, you got the shipping, you got the customer service aspect. Sometimes it's best just to get rid of the game and be done with it and sell it to a place like us. So that's really about it. Now I will say, there's a point where games are definitely worth selling on eBay or third-party Craigslist, whatever. And that's on the higher price stuff, because if I'm only going to give you a third to a half, at that point it definitely makes more sense to probably keep it yourself and sell it if you want more money out of it. I would say probably $80 games and less. It's probably just sell it to a store, as long as they pay you well. If they say, well, I'll give you $1 or $2 for that, obviously you walk out the door. But all right, so when I'm buying the games, also remember that, and again, I'm just throwing this in. When I'm buying them, I'm going to take them, and I have to clean them up. I have to test them, right? I would say there are, like on game consoles, I'd say maybe 1 out of every 3 to 5 consoles they may work when they come in, but they die, within a week or actually an hour or two, because sometimes the sellers aren't always honest. They'll stick me with a piece of junk and I overlook something. So that is built into my cost of buying things as well, right? On the controllers, the consoles, the games, I spend lots of money on microfiber cloths, on cleaners, right? I spend a lot of time cleaning stuff up. When I buy something, I don't just flip it and send it back out on the floor. I go through and clean everything from the cables down to the consoles. I don't get inside usually, but you know, my stuff is pretty darn clean, and I know not all retailers do that, but I spend a lot of time and money and products cleaning, the games and the consoles and the cords and all that. Because here, I'll grab a cloth. I don't have a really dirty one right now because I usually change them out. But as you can tell, this is from like a controller here, right? So I actually will clean the cables that, so you don't have to touch the griminess that has preceded that game system, for a long period of time. It's a really nasty business, okay? You know, people think there's stuff and there's bugs. I mean, you name it, I've seen it, right? So, anyways, that's the buying side. Now, the selling side, I don't know what I'm going to talk about here. Oh yeah, I guess I don't know. I guess the buying is really the bigger part of my thing. When I sell something, I usually sell it at about or slightly above eBay pricing, right? I try to get a good average. Sometimes I'm a little high, but the thing is, on eBay as a buyer, if you buy something and you don't like it, well, you got to go through the hassle of returning it, boxing it back up, waiting, sometimes you're going to get genuine stuff, sometimes you won't. At least in a retail environment, you can physically touch the item. If anybody wants me to pull a SNES cartridge apart just so they can see it's got a genuine Nintendo chipset in there, I will do that for them. You can't trust what you're always going to, I'm not saying everybody on eBay is a crook, right? But you always, somebody says, if you say to a seller, hey, will you pull a SNES cartridge apart? Well, think about on the back end, are you really going to want to do that if you're, not making as much anyways? Maybe they'll do it, but maybe they'll lie. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot more counterfeit stuff out there that you got to watch out for. So when I'm selling stuff, like I said, I try to stay within $5 or $10, give or take, of the actual game. And again, we're talking higher end stuff. The low end stuff, I usually try to match it. The game consoles, same kind of thing. They may be a little bit higher, but I've cleaned them. When you get them off eBay, you're going to have, probably a grimy mess when you get it. And Lord knows what it's going to be, how it's going to be packaged. I've seen a lot of stuff come in the door that people bought and it's just been destroyed, in shipping because the seller didn't package it well. If you're gonna sell something, and again you want to get premium dollars for it, you're gonna need to get in user groups or some type of blog or something outside of retail and even eBay, because again eBay with the fees they charge is just silly. If you do Craigslist, you got the issues where we all heard horror stories about Craigslist too. So meet in a public area with maybe a friend or something. You don't want to get kidnapped or killed or something because you're trying to sell a $100 game or something like that. But anyways, just I guess what I'm saying, the whole point of this video is just have reasonable expectations of what you want to get and what you think something is worth. Most customers are pretty reasonable. I do see more people looking on their phones when they're in the shop, and then they'll be like, well, why is this, why is it so much more? I'm like, well, look around you, I got to keep the lights on, I got the air conditioner going, I'm the guy that pays taxes, so you can have a parking space out in front of my shop or out in front of the stores out for here, So, you don't have to be I try not to be a smart ass about it, but it just seems like some people just don't get it. Just because it's on the internet doesn't mean that it's going to be the same price in a retail store. Let's shift over to new items now. I'm talking used stuff, right? New stuff, that's a whole different story because new stuff, it's a commodity, right? If you have part ABC and Amazon has part ABC and eBay has part ABC, the people are going to try to find the cheapest part if it's brand new, right? I will say this, I will tend to buy like solid state drives, for example. I try not to buy them from people, just individuals off eBay, because there's a lot of counterfeit drives out there that don't really, they're bogus drives, right? They'll function, but they're not the capacity they say they are. So I will try to buy from like Newegg or a reputable company, because I'll be willing to pay a little bit of a premium to know that I'm going to get something that came from a company that's actually legitimate. So, uh, but anyways, that's about it. I guess what I'm getting at, try to shop local as much as you can, because when you don't, it really hurts the communities. And I think at some point, if we don't if that tide doesn't come back or that wave doesn't come back a little bit towards the retail side, um, your community is going to die, folks. I mean, I realize the world is changing. I realize that, online e-commerce is definitely taking a chunk out of the retail side, and I get that. But, if you don't shop local at all and everything's done online, then, the thing is, your retailers that are there now, they'll go out of business potentially. You'll have a vacant building. You'll have a building that won't be paying taxes into your local government, and that impacts everything. And actually, what happens when there's fewer businesses that the government can take taxes from? Well, guess what? Do you think that the local governments are going to say, well, I guess we just need a pay cut this year. I'm the town manager or whatever. I need I have to take a pay cut because, our downtown areas are failing, right? No, what they're going to do is they're going to jack up your property tax, right? So you're going to pay more for property tax yourself, personal property items. So, you think you might be getting a good deal when you shop online. But if you think about it, if the tax revenues dry up, the local governments, their people that work there aren't going to care, right? They're just going to jack the millage and all that other stuff up on you guys. Your taxable rates on your homes and everything. So you think you might be getting a good deal, saving a few bucks here and there. But folks, it's really, when it's all said and done, the money will get collected one way or another, right? Whether it's through retail side and maybe keeping the retailers local, or if those go bye-bye, you're going to be paying more in taxes, okay? And we're already starting to see that. The states are starting to want to do more taxing on retailers like Amazon and eBay, because they have lost a big chunk of revenue. So what used to be a really good deal on the internet, because you had to pay no tax, right? Shipping's not as free as it used to be, unless you pay, like for Amazon example, you pay Prime, right? It's like $100 a month or a year, or $80. I don't know what it is. I don't do that, but everything's kind of cyclical, and I think just kind of be aware of what you're doing, okay, guys? Buying and selling, let's try to keep this stuff as local as we can. So, anyways, that's about all I had. Appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions, comments, throw them down there in the field. Thumbs up, subscribe. You guys have a good day. Take care.